Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And welcome everybody to the December 9th, 2022 version of Scarefest TV. Tonight we have my talented and lovely co-host, Mr. Chad Harlan, joins me this evening for his triumphant return to
Good evening.
to Videodom. Of course, our guest tonight is Mr. Alan Marston. But things worked out differently this year, so I'm filling time in December with some of the stuff I missed. And what do you mean no volume? Turn your volume up. I'm looking at the board. It looks fine. So, Shanna, turn your phone up. If anybody else having trouble hearing us, because it's showing it's hot. Anyway, tonight we are talking about the St. Albans Sanatorium. That's what Alan gave a presentation on at Scarefest. We are officially locking in the dates tonight, everybody. The dates for Scarefest 2023 will be announced, made official, and that's all we got. And I'm gonna do that at the half-hour mark, just so I got something to talk about. Anyway, welcome back, Alan. Good to see you again. And so this year, that's funny. Now, okay, sometimes we Alan, he always offers us several topics, but because we've condensed at the Scarefest, we only have the one seminar room now. We said, well, let's get more people in. So Alan was our actually first application we even got, so we just went ahead and greenlighted him. But the deal was that then anybody that canceled, as we always have people cancel, he gets to fill in. Well, guess what? Nobody canceled before the convention. So Alan came all the way to Kentucky to do one presentation, and I apologize for that. But how did it go? Did you have a good turnout down in the basement of the convention center?
Yeah, I did. I actually liked where it was this year. Last year, we did it on the floor.
Yeah, that was
and it got kind of busy and
kind of
nice
busy.
To have it back.
Okay, everybody, I just will attribute to Alan Marston the understatement of the year. That corner got kind of weird. But anyway, other than now, we do need some better signage to get people, down the escalator or the elevator, or whatever mode of transportation they choose, and we will handle that. But good. I'm glad you had a good turnout. And we talked about this before the show. I don't know a damn thing about St. Albans. Right. When I pulled up the thing, that their bio thing, it starts off with they started as a boys' school. Mm-hmm. Take it from there. Tell us about a little bit about the history of the building, because although I can see sanitarium falling into the boys' school thing, sanatorium is a completely different word. So I'm going to let you tell us how it ended up as a sanatorium, starting off as a boys' school.
Okay. So roughly about 1891, George Miles ended up purchasing the land where St. Albans sits right now. He wanted to make a place that would produce Southern gentlemen, if you will. So in 1892, he built St. Albans for roughly about $19,000. So today's money, it's around $606,000 is what he would have spent for it. So he constructed the two buildings. very soon, they started to get a reputation for being a really good school. So his numbers started to climb, and he started to be able to recruit professors from like Princeton and Yale, bring in some some bigger name people. Um, but George Miles didn't think that that was good enough. Just because he had the academics on his side, he felt if we're going to be this big formidable college, we need to be great at sports. So we started to bring in different coaches from other bigger name colleges for the football team.
Just like every Baptist church in America. Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much, right. Or every Baptist college now, if you look at what they're doing and where their coaches are going, but that's another story.
I just have this whole phobia about churches and softball. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is my therapy session. This is what I do every week is my therapy session. Continue.
Right. So as the school started to grow, Miles started to get into other endeavors such as real estate, and his real estate business started to really rocket, and he started to kind of push away the school a little bit, and he let somebody else take it over. So once they started kind of running the reins a little bit, they started to get into this, and for the best way to describe it, they were just a bunch of bullies, right? So you had all your kind of sects out there. So it was like your jocks over here, and then like your academics over here. So they started to clash a lot. In one of the yearbooks, they actually had this guy. Let's see, his name was E. Blackburn Runyon. And they said that he didn't return after Christmas, much to our sorrow, as it put a stop to the football games on the terrace, in which he figured promptly as the football. So, they were really upset that he didn't come back because they didn't have him anymore, because he was their football for the games out on the lawn, and this continued. There were a couple deaths that were there because of, the bullying. And this kept going on till roughly 1911. The building would sit vacant for about 5 years. And then we bring in Dr. King. So Dr. King worked at, I think it was Southwestern Hospital here in Virginia. He wasn't really happy with the conditions that they were keeping the patients in. He wanted to make a place to where people actually were treated like people, where they could go, about their day-to-day life, and just like they normally would at home, but in this protective state to where, they were easily cared for and done for very well, really. So he builds this. So he buys the Lutheran Boys School, turns it into St. Albans. He adds farms, things like that, so they can come in, they can raise cattle, they can raise crops, everything that they would normally do, they could do here. So basically, I guess they were getting, free meat and everything else, whatever. So it began to be one of the, the best places. It was kind of like a Club Med, if you will, as great as you could get for, sanatorium. Just like everywhere else around this time, if you look back, we think everything they were doing was barbaric. So some of the things that they did, you will see on some of these shows where they say they did lobotomies there. They did not do lobotomies. What they did have there was phlebotomy, so it was the actual place.
Phlebotomies of like blood work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Okay, big difference. Yeah, that's.
So you go from hole in the arm to a hole in the head.
Yeah. Okay.
So...
Yeah, I was going through my high school biology there. I said that don't sound equivalent. Go ahead.
No. So in the phlebotomy room, they would actually do what's called insulin therapy. So they would either raise the insulin excuse me, they raise the blood sugar really high and then drop it down, put you into shock, or they would drop your blood sugar so far that you would probably about 60s to 30s. Everybody's different on the levels where it would have to go. But once you get to this one certain place, that's when you kind of pass out and go out. And then they'll administer like now we give like D50 or D10, which is just basic, sugar and water. So they would give you that, which would kind of shock you back into, and supposed to restart your mind to working again. They did hydrotherapy.
So what you're telling me, in essence, is their idea was to be like your computer, unplug it and plug it back in.
Right.
Makes sense.
Instead of smacking it or whatever, just the hard reset.
I get it. In other words, use the restart button. Don't pull the cord out of the wall. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, technically they were almost pulling the plug on you, because you were right there in that little teeter-totter plane of either making it back or not, so if they let you go too long, you wouldn't have come back. The hydrotherapy didn't seem as bad until like one of them, you'd lay in a tub for a while of either warm water or it could be ice cold water. So that would make it bad, anywhere from a few hours to a couple days. Or they would take bath sheets and just soak them and wrap you in them like a mummy and would just keep you wet for however long. And to be honest, I don't know how that was supposed to work. Like I've looked into it. Like I don't see how soaking in a tub, unless it's kind of the shock of the cold or the heat, and then of course, basically where everybody else was doing it was electroshock. That was one of the big ones that they did there, and surprisingly, it's still done to this day.
Yeah, with that, the little sponges and all that. Anyway, okay. We're pretty close to commercial break. So, Chad, I'm going to take this toss away from you. I'm going to go ahead and do my commercial break. And then when I come back, straight to you, Chad. So we've heard the history now on St. Albans, everybody. Blue Leaf Naturals, blueleafnaturals.com. They've extended their Black Friday sale. It's going through the holidays. They're calling it their holiday sale now. So saved them probably a whole lot of computer programming to just call it that. But basically, it's buy one, get one free. Now, today, I've been talking about the lotions and everything. I'm going to talk about the CBD gummies. Now, this is something my sponsor probably doesn't want me to tell you. CBD oil, in its refined form, tastes awful. It just, I'm sorry, it might be an acquired taste. I'm not sure, because I used to hate lots of foods that I'll eat now. But the point is, okay, a lot of people will try it and they're not real happy. Oh, I can't do this. CBD gummies, however, take that away. And they're easily digestible. They taste good. You take one or two of them, and if you're in chronic pain in particular, but even if it's just sudden, like me with where I rent everything at Scarefest, I was taking this stuff every day, and it did, how would I put it? Level out. It did not do away with the pain, but it did level it out, where then nice over-the-counter painkillers like ibuprofen just knocked it. Now, that, once again, that's not scientific. That's my experience with it. But so what I'm telling you is, if you just want to give it as a gift, this is a perfect chance to try it. Nothing works for everybody, but I do suggest you give it a shot. CBD gummies. Go to blueleafnaturals.com. Give them a try. Take advantage of their year-end sale. Chad, over to you.
Hey, Alan.
Hey,
It's always great to see you. I'm looking forward to talking to you tonight. Now that we've got a little bit of history on St. Albans, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history? How'd you get into the paranormal? What piqued your interest? I know you've been on here a bunch of times, but I don't think we've ever gone back through the history on that.
No, not really. Usually we're talking about serial killers or something like that, So I guess from the very beginning, I was really small when I started seeing shadow people around home. And I told my mom and my dad, mainly mom, because I grew up Southern Baptist. Um, and if you know anything about Southern Baptist or things like that, you don't really talk about it, because it's it's evil or it's the devil or what have you. But the older I get, the more I realize that my mom was probably seeing the same things that I was seeing, because she kind of she would buy me books and stuff and be like, about ghosts and things like that, and be like, don't tell your dad about this. It was like mine and my mom's secret. So I remember seeing them all the way up until, like, I guess 14, 15-ish, and it just turns off, right? I don't know if it's like maybe hormone levels or something like that. I don't know. But so fast forward to 2005, I got hired at the department that I'm working for now. I was at a firehouse that was built in 1912. Um, it 2 stories, actually 3 stories. Top story we didn't use. On the second floor, we've got a pole that goes down to the bay floor. We've got a kitchen off to the left, bedroom in the back. There's a glass enclosure around said pole, and behind that's a door to the bathroom. We're sitting in there doing runs, and I look up and I see a shadow walk from the bathroom, come straight across. You can see it through the glass, goes through the lit hallway, and into the kitchen. I get up, run in there to see what's going on, and I see nothing. If you walk across this floor, it's the exact same old wooden floors that were there when it was built. So anything that touches that floor makes a noise. So I didn't hear anything. I run in there, look, nothing. I didn't think too much about it. I went on and went to sleep. Lo and behold, when I wake up the next morning, all of my stuff had kind of started kicking off again. I began to see the shadow people again. So I started doing research, trying to figure out, what's going on. And about this time, or maybe a little bit later, is when all the TV shows started. So I was like, okay, maybe this is something that can help me out. So I start moving my research from books and things like that to actually going out, trying to get EVPs and things like that, trying to make some kind of correlation to what I was seeing. My whole thing is, I don't care if I find out that it's just some kind of big subliminal mind trick, that everybody is experiencing. I just want to find out that's what it is. Like I won't be disappointed at all. We're out there looking for answers. And if we can get that, that would just be great.
Awesome. I know that you come every year, and actually I've told this story before, that actually going to your seminar and talking to you is when I put together my first seminar. You encouraged me on that, and I appreciate that. But how did you get into that part of it? What made you decide to start speaking and putting together various seminars, like you said, not just on the paranormal, but also on other aspects of the weird and unusual?
Well, I mean, you guys know me. Like, everything that's weird and unusual, it interests me, But it was the first year that Enigma Cons was done at St. Albans. They were looking for new speakers, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try it. So my first one was on Mandela effect. And I'm pretty sure that was the first one that I did at Scarefest. Well, one of the two I did at Scarefest the first time. So I did that one and liked it. every year they get better. So like had a little lull there when I was going through some stuff where I just wasn't myself, but this year, so as you know, I mean, I've got a new fiance now. I'm actually
Congratulations.
feeling like myself again. I'm having fun with it, and it's great to be back to, the old me, So if you've seen it in the past, I apologize, you know, but back now I'm probably better than I've ever been. So
Well, I will say you've always gotten rave reviews. I think you touched on it there, but we're talking about St. Albans tonight.
mhm.
How did you discover that location, and what was your first introduction to it?
So it was basically an internet search. I've looked on haunted places in Virginia, and that was touted as being, the most haunted place on the East Coast is what they were putting out. And I was like, you know what? I want to see this place, like let's do this, So like we go. It was 10 of us, I think. That was the first time I met Mom. I call her Mama, but her real name's Marcel. She runs St. Albans. Wonderful lady. Um, God, she makes you feel at home. But anyway, um, we get there, and I have absolutely nothing happen. Nothing. It was dead. Well, dead, all night.
But dead is
Nothing.
good.
Yeah, it depends on how you look at it. That's right. Um, so once you walk through the doors of St. Albans, you get this feeling like of home. It's like you've been there before, um, and you'll be coming back. So when I first walked in, I knew that I'd be going back, and little did I know that that place would become like a home away from home for me, um, a whole nother family, if you will. So I guess then it knew, but I didn't know.
Absolutely. Let me toss it back over to Wes.
Okay. First of all, now realize, okay, I'm going to touch back to the history a little bit, but this isn't so much on the building. Why in the world don't they spell out Saint? The town doesn't. The place doesn't. ST means nothing to me. This could be Street Albans. I want to know why in the world everybody, and it's not just them.
Well, it actually started with the Lutheran Boys School. They modeled, or actually stole, the school name from the St. Albans School over in England. So they were basically copying everything that they had done, just to kind of ride their coattails.
I'm surprised you had an answer for that at all. So I'm kudos to you. Kudos. Okay. Well, we'll just take it a step forward. Now, you said, honestly, my experience is very similar to that, in that the first time I went ghost hunting, I didn't get anything. Now, I won't say I didn't feel anything, but I love the experience, and that's what got me hooked. Waverly Hills reminds me a little bit of what you're talking about. If you go in that building, it drips history. Now, you don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling you described, but it just, once you're on the grounds, the history just envelops you. Now, as far as St. Albans, okay, so I'll just ask it this way. How long did you have to go before the ghost took you under their wing? When did they start trusting you?
It was 2 or 3 trips. It took a little bit. And but once she starts showing stuff to you, it gets more and more and more, I mean, it's pretty neat, really.
I know that feeling. Yeah, very, very, very familiar with that. Well, tell us some of the common things that people, I'll put it this way. if everybody's walking in that building the first time and nothing's happening, it's not staying in business. So, over the long term or short term, what are some of the more common experiences? What do people see? What do they experience? What do they record? Just kind of give us a rundown of what a person could expect if they're willing to go back more than once.
Okay. So one of the biggest things that you hear about is the shadow people that are there. They're prominent, whether it's during the day or the night. My favorite time to investigate there is actually during the day.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a whole lot more active. Number of things you can actually see, so that's a plus. Don't have to use a flashlight or anything else. So there is this one entity that they call the creeper. Every location has a creeper, right?
Yep.
I mean, let's face it, it's become one of the common things. What I did like about this one when I saw it was that it's kind of like this morphed human being. So it only has, I guess, what you would call 2 arms and 2 legs, but the way that it moves is more like arachnid kind of.
Yeah, it skitters.
Like a crab.
I would call it a skitter.
Okay. Yeah.
That's actually on the job description of being a creeper, just so you know.
Yeah, but this thing, man, it would go like on the floor and then just crawl up the side of the wall and upside down on the ceiling in this place that we call the long dark hallway. But we've seen it there. We've seen it in the alcoholics wing. Some people.
I love that they have an alcoholics wing. Continue. That was added, by the way, everybody, after it closed down. It was, go ahead.
Right. But see, you got to remember that St. Albans wasn't just a sanatorium, because Radford didn't have a hospital, right? So it served as the sanatorium and like a general hospital. So they did, minor surgeries, most of your normal day-to-day doc in the box type things as well. So you're getting like a whole amalgamation of stuff there that, makes a lot of things, or could brew up a lot of things.
All right. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're gonna go ahead and take our next commercial break, everybody, and kill the suspense of something that, like, we've already talked about on the show. But go ahead. Okay, over to me. All right. First of all, spirit mechanics. Now, I talk about them every week. A bunch of good guys. If you have any metaphysical, spiritual problems, stop and see them. They do have a actual brick and mortar location now at 1510 Newtown Pike, Suite 116. When you pull off Newtown Pike into the parking lot, they're right on the corner. In the brick and mortar location, along with Jewel Phoenix, they offer tarot cards. They offer a good selection of those. They alter. New on their website. I didn't see this last time. Altar supplies. So if that's something you're into. And then Jewel Phoenix just has all kinds of neat stuff while you're in there. But if you're a collector, if you want to get into tarot, they've got just on their website for get them shipped to you. If you do not want or do not have time to go to see them, it's worth taking a look. And to go along with my next announcement, they are at not my very next one. Slow down. That was on me. Anyway, they are at the Mystical Fair this weekend. Now, drum roll and all that, but I couldn't get my soundboard to work. The official dates are as close as last year's and the years before as we could get them. October 20th through 22nd, 2023 is now locked in as the official dates for the Scarefest weekend. Now, I'm giving you this information so that you may put in for your vacations and whatever. But basically, the weekend before Halloween is working out really good for us crowd-wise. So that's why we're sticking there. We're getting a buttload of people. Now, giving you this information, we have not signed the paperwork with any of the hotels. So if you try to get a hotel, You might get it, but you're going to pay retail. You're going to pay retail. We do not have the blocks arranged, anything like that. Don't jump the gun yet. We will be releasing that information post haste, but I do want to go ahead and get this information out to you now. As far as guest announcements, we will be starting those very soon. We have, God, what was it, 6 or 7 already lined up. Now, the thing is, we could not sign the contracts until we had the venue locked in. Because if you sign a contract with a celebrity and then say, oh, by the way, we're doing it in December, they will sue your ass. So, Scarefest weekend, October 20th through 22nd, but guest announcements will be starting very, very soon. It's official. We need to do banners and all that. We don't have the artwork yet. We contacted our artist today to do the artwork for the new logos. So there. Don't forget this weekend, starting tomorrow morning, Central Kentucky Mystical Market. I will be there. I will be trying to do Bad Tarot. I'm a little rusty on it, and mentally, I may not be at my best, but which I'm never my best. My best was when I was like 18 years old. Point is, I'll be there. Lots of readers. Hey, do your Christmas shopping. Come in. They always have some great artists and craftsmen on hand. It's at the Clarion Hotel, 1950, Newtown Pike. It's right as soon as you get off the interstate, but Central Kentucky Mystical Market tomorrow and Sunday. Go to their website or look them up on Facebook. Just Google it, whatever the hell you have to do. Central Kentucky Mystical Market. Now, back to St. Albans. Okay, now I want to talk about creepers. You're right. Okay. They're everywhere. Now, a lot of people, give them, nefarious backgrounds or, intentions or anything. When I was at Waverly, I asked my spirit guides, being the gifted psychic that I am, whether or not that was anything to worry about. And here's the story I got, Alan. Tell me if this fits what you think might be going on there. Mm-hmm. I literally got that it's a ghost or an entity. Didn't even realize, I don't know if we use the word ghost in the conversation, but it is an entity that's there because it likes being the center of attention. That's it. That's the sales pitch. Does that sound kind of familiar?
Yeah, and I think that it is there in the form that it takes is because it likes the shock value.
Exactly. Now, someday maybe I'll get into a deep enough conversation, and this is probably after I'm dead, but I want to find out how some of these entities seem to be able to expand their resume. That's because right. Your average ghost. Now, okay, short of the creeper. Do you feel like the place is haunted by past residents? What's the feel of the participants, if you will?
So I think some of them are. It's hard to tell though if they're from the boys' school or from the sanatorium itself, because a lot of it just seems like residual things. There are some things that I think are elemental, possibly. Mm-hmm. Because it seems like, and I have no idea how I know this, but it seems like it's older than the sanatorium itself. Like it's been there a long time, mm-hmm. Like it's like whatever is there, that's its place, is right there. Whether that building is there or not, it doesn't matter, but for the most part, all your spirits, except for like 1 or 2, basically seem to be just, you can't call them, good or bad. It's just, they're just there, mm-hmm. There's this one that they have in the boiler room. You'll see his red eyes and stuff. And I think that's kind of the same thing as the creeper, like we talked about, like it just wants to seem like it's this badass thing, But for the most part, it's just things you go there, you will get interactions. Um, and I think a lot of the things wherever you go, your intent is one of the big things. Like if you go there expecting and this is what I'm gonna see, I think you're actually gonna get it there. That's one of the locations that and we kind of try to test the theories on that because we go 2 to 3 times a year, and that was one of the big things I want us to do this next time for Enigma Cons is to like take the night before, because we go in that Friday night and we get the place to ourselves that night to do to do experiments, So that was one of the things that I want to do is like set the intent of who we're gonna kind of like a bigger or smaller Phillips experiment, like set the parameters. This is what we're gonna to deal with, and this is who we're gonna meet and see if that actually happens,
Quick follow-up from the chat room. In the boiler room, the red-eye thing, is that the pig thing that people talk about? The pig thing?
No.
All right. We'll find out more about the pig thing after tossing over to Mr. Chad Harley.
Incidentally, the alcohol wing is what we're going to call the hotel block for Scarefest this year. So
that's a good idea.
Well, with that transition, hey, Alan, tell us more about the pig thing.
So I don't have it on chat. Who asked about the pig thing?
Elizabeth Sloan.
Okay. Not who I thought. Anyway, so Pigman. I forget what year it was.
Oh my God! Don't go full on Seinfeld on me and say no. It was just a short mental patient.
No. So this messed me up for a while actually. We were doing an event for NPS, National Paranormal Society. We were getting ready to go upstairs and set up a psychomanium chamber in the closet. And I'm walking by this stairwell that goes down to the basement where we call it the safe room. And all that's in there's this huge safe that's flipped upside down. So that's why it's the safe room. So I'm walking by this staircase. I have my headlamp on, but I keep it off to the side just so that I'm not messing up my vision and I can still kind of see, walking along and something makes me stop and turn. So I stop, turn to my left and look, and coming up the steps is the best way to describe it is a pig-faced creature in like a black hooded robe. The face is like a boar's face. You know what a pig looks like that's been on a spit for, quite a while. It looks like it's, just all red and just nice and charred. And so that's what this thing looked like, and as soon as it sees me, he probably did the exact same thing I did. My eyes get big, his eyes get big, and it kind of looks at me like you can see me, and then almost like it was straight out of Scooby-Doo, it just zips down the steps, right? So it does like this. The people behind me go, "What the hell was that?" And I was like, "Oh, you saw it?" They're like, "No, but we heard it." So go about, I don't know, 20 minutes later, we were standing upstairs and like, all right, let's go find this thing, right? So the two guys that are with me, 2 years ago, my cousin Daryl came with me, and I think you guys met him. So Daryl was there, and then another friend of mine, Tracy, was there. Tracy's probably 6'5", 300 pounds. And Daryl's not small either. So we all go down in the basement. We're looking, didn't see anything. So we're coming out, and Daryl's in the front. I'm in the middle. Tracy's in the back. Something hits Tracy in his back, pushes him up into me, which pushes into Daryl, and we all just kind of spit out onto the floor, where the grand staircase is. And we didn't really go back down there after that one. We went back rest of the building, but didn't go back down in there. that wasn't for about, I didn't do anything with the paranormal for about 5 or 6 months. That kind of messed me up, a little bit. And then I finally got in me, I got to find out what this is, and went back and haven't seen him since.
Are there other reports of such a creature, or is that just something that was a one-time event that you stumbled across?
Well, so when you look into like what they have seen at St. Albans, it turns into like looking in a paranormal dictionary. There's like, if you can imagine it, they've seen it there. So they hadn't really heard of a big creature until this. They've been seeing what people call like goat man, but I'm wondering too, how we were talking about how I think that some of the things they do things for shock value. In the haunted house, they do a character that is pig face and a hood. And I'm wondering if it has seen the reactions that people are getting out of that. So it decides to present itself as that way, I don't know. Or if it could be something that feeds off of fright. So it wants to, scare you the best that it can. And it's seeing that it's getting, good results from that. So I don't know, but St. Albans is ever changing. I mean, it doesn't stay the same. And I'm wondering if that's just because of the influx of people that are coming in, bringing stuff, taking stuff away, picking things up, whatever.
Like I was gonna say, maybe even a tulpa. If a lot of people are seeing it at the haunted house, they may have manifested such a thing there.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of that goes into the whole intention type thing too. Like thought forms and tulpas, and it's very plausible.
Are there any stories that kind of lead to tied to specific hauntings, stories of the past that may have led to a ghost that people or spirit that people see?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few. There's one of one of the patients up in the ladies' wing upstairs. She had a child that was stillborn, and she kept said baby in a jar and hid it away in the closet. It's kind of like little crawl spaces where you could store stuff in the attic, So she kept it in there inside of one of their closets. And when they found out about it, they of course took the baby and got rid of it. And because of that, she ends up committing suicide. And that is in what they call the suicide bathroom. There's supposedly 4 or 5 suicides that happened there, and all of them took place in that bathroom. We're pretty sure which one it was, but not 100, because there's like 4 or 5 bathrooms that are up right there in that line. So almost every room had its own bathroom upstairs. There's a story of a young child named Jacob. They have a room that they believed was his room. That's dedicated to him. So there's toys, and things like that. Jacob supposedly got dropped off, if I remember correctly, there. And then another notable figure, his name was Donald, basically was a pedophile, ended up killing Jacob. And that's all story. I don't think we've actually found anything definitive yet on that. I'd have to talk with Tracy and find out, see if because they're finding stuff, repeatedly once they start finding more records, because the records in Radford, a lot of them were destroyed in this huge flood. So as they find people who actually have, articles and things like that, it's the little stories are growing. I do have a little bit of a thought on that one. good friend of mine from Transcend Paranormal, Steve Dills, they were there one weekend and they did an EVP session, and they get um, this voice, right? It is what sounds to be a middle-aged man trying to sound like a little kid, right? So, and I want to say he's saying my name is Jacob, or my Jacob, or something like that. So we had always thought that possibly Jacob was an older individual who may have had the mindset of a child. Um, I don't know. It's just a theory we've got, but that EVP kind of pushes that along a little bit,
Yeah.
you know. But they're like your main ones. You've got the guy down in the boiler room they call Old Smoky. People bring cigarettes for him. Um, we've got some things here recently in the last 4 years, I guess it would be. The second floor of the King Center has been fairly active. Um, it's just I've seen something that I'm pretty sure is Dr. King. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked just like him. I've seen it 2 or 3 times in the exact same room. Um, a lot of like 3 foot tall shadows dart in and out of this, long hallway. I love long hallways, by the way, like where you can put an ambient light at the end of it. It's neat, which whether it's your eyes playing with you or not, I mean, it's pretty cool the stuff that you catch going back and forth from room to room to room.
Yeah.
But you guys need to come down one weekend and we'll go.
Love to. Let's toss to our last break real quick, and we'll
Okay.
be right back with Alan.
Horror. Movie. Fans. 4. Life. On Facebook. Find us. 4 watch parties. 4 news. 4 memes. 4 friends. 4 life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly with a review of a movie I really liked. I don't know if it's a horror film or not, though. So don't get mad at me later on if you think, oh, well, cheers, that it's not a horror film. Now, on Paramount Plus right now is a movie called Significant Other. I say this often, I hate saying this, but I can't give you too much of the plot because the third act twist is so darn good that I enjoyed this movie so much. And it's not too long. This is a complaint I have about other things. If you're not into gore, that's fine. If you want something that's just different, this worked for me. It may not work for you, but I like it a lot. Here's the IMDb plot. Follows a young couple who take a remote backpacking trip through the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, wherever, and face sinister events, leading them to realize that everything about the place is not as it seems, or everything about everyone they meet is not as it seems. It's written and directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. Now, I'm not familiar with their other films, Villains, The Stakeland, or Body, but I'm going to go back and hopefully check them out because this movie just works for me. It's very small. Most of it takes place out in the forest. I would never go hiking for a week for vacation, but I understand other people do. It stars Jake Lacey and Micah Monroe. Both of them are fantastic in it. It just has a huge twist, and it's hard to talk about any of it without giving it away. It's not a huge time commitment. The movie is smart enough to go on and off because if it was 2 hours long, it'd be too much. And you'd be like, oh man, and you'd figure things out. But it's only about an hour and 24 minutes. It's a perfect amount for a horror film. It's shot beautifully. The acting is really good. the actual twist makes sense once you think about it and go back forth through it and how little you saw of it. This plot and the twist at the end, as far as why is it? Because saw some, so I started reading about it a little bit, and other reviewers are saying that it has body horror in it, and I kind of don't think they're correct. And I'm curious what you all think if you watch it, because body horror to me, I mean, Cronenberg did this with Rabid. If you've ever seen the Rabid and from the 70s, if you not should, with Marilyn Chambers, Cronenberg's Rabid. But there's other movies that deal with that I think are more body horror. I don't see this as body horror. To me, it's just straight up. There's not a lot of blood and guts. There's a few killings, but it's more of a science fiction. Yeah, could you call it a horror film? You can. I don't know that I necessarily call it a horror film. So maybe they'll fire me on Scarefest for reviewing this. But Significant Other on Paramount Plus, this is one of the movies I enjoyed quite a bit, and I did not see the twist coming. I thought it was going to be another twist that they were going to do, and they didn't do that. So I highly recommend Significant Other. I think we should all go back and check out their other movies that these two guys made. And the endings may piss you off. The last 30 seconds to a minute may piss you off, especially if you need everything wrapped up in a bow. Although I think it does a pretty good job of explaining and telling you the whole story. So check out Significant Other on Paramount Plus. I really liked this movie a lot. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Watched it by myself. It's not going to make you go boo or jump or have a lot of jump scares like Smile, which I recommend and I've gotten crap about because a lot of people don't, a couple of my friends don't care for it. And maybe I need to go back and revisit it, but I like Significant Other. So check it out, Significant Other on Paramount Plus. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly.
The thing, okay, now this is coming from a $10 psychic, so take it for what it's worth. Some of the experiences you've talked about, like the pig man and the other things, I would tend to think, okay, because you believe the place has elementals to begin with, elementals can easily be jerks in that they don't really, they're not, I've never encountered one or really experienced one, or at least got long-term stories from one that actually meant anybody harm. But at the same time, they're around here a long time, and they do have to amuse themselves. So I do kind of like your theory that it may just be somebody imitating what they saw at the haunted house. That sounds like an elemental douchebag thing to do. There,
Right.
That's my feelings on that. So, yeah, once again, for what it's worth. Then, the rest of it, okay, I guess I'll ask, it sounds like they're doing a really good job of keeping the place historically true. In that, people tend to want to bitch about the pay and investigate, pay and plays, whatever they want to call them. But these places have to keep a roof on the building. Are they able to keep it well maintained? In other words, keep the rain out to preserve this for future generations? Are they?
Yeah, they're doing the best they can, and a lot of people are helping as far as like coming in and volunteering their time. I know that, if you want to come in and work a day, you can like investigate for a small discount that night, and things like that. I think we're actually looking at going in and hopefully, if I can get enough people redoing one of the rooms or redoing, what we'd love to do is redo the front door. Because right now it's just two pieces of plywood it's one side is a door and one side is just a wall, but we'd love to put in like the door. I would have to end up building it in the actual frame there. Because it's just 100% custom. So, I mean, it would take a while, but it would be nice. But they're doing the best they can. They're starting to redo some things, and hopefully we can get it back to to the way it was one day, and it is on the National Registry now. So that helps a lot too.
I know they do events there. Do you
Mhm.
do you know some of the events they do, and if anything's coming up?
Yes, actually I do. We have EnigmaCons that's coming up. I can get you guys the dates on that. So far, I know I'll be there. Scott Sukal will be there. Steve Dills, Copperhead's there. Adam Bonet. I want to say Mike and Chris are going to be there from Wraith Chasers. A couple other people. So they have that. Then every year they do their haunted house, which is one of their bigger money makers, where it goes from October 1st through, I think, November, second week in November, possibly. So they run it a little bit, a little bit later. Very, very well done there. As most places, that's, one of their big things that they do. They used to do one on Valentine's Day. I'm not sure if they still do it. It was like a My Bloody Valentine kind of homage, But there's events there throughout the year that different people put on. I would
You said you were going to be at EnigmaCon. Are
Yes,
you
sir.
speaking, or
Yes.
what topics are you going to be covering there if anybody wants to come check you out?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. So I usually, you know how I do my stuff. It's like, give me something, tell me something to look into. What are y'all interested in? Because I find, it's good for me because I'm learning something new or something I may not know, a lot about. Or so I'm just waiting to see what the guys give me for that one.
I did look up the dates, everybody. That's April 22nd. April 22nd. If you want to look up EnigmaCon, this Facebook and Google. I Googled it. It took me to Facebook, so I have both avenues covered there. Now, one last thing. Now, the National Paranormal Society.
Yes.
That's the thing you were like president of, right?
I was director for a little while.
Director for a little. Why do you not play that up in your resume? You go to your Facebook page, you're like, oh, I'm a fireman. I mean, that's something, dude. Yeah.
If I go speak somewhere, I put that in there, But to be honest, I forget about it sometimes.
Humility.
To be 100% honest, I mean.
Humility. I'm sure that's what attracted his fiance. And congratulations again. Everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. Tonight we've been talking to Alan Marston about St. Albans Sanatorium. Look it up on Facebook and find out more about going if you're interested. We've already had a couple of Scarefest people in the chat room say, hey, we need to schedule a trip. So who knows? It might happen this year. It might happen because things happen. And
yeah, I'd love to have y'all down.
We got time we have to fill until October. So road trip.
Yeah, and I guarantee it won't be in September or October. I guarantee that. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and close the show out because I have to go in and do the edit and upload the corrected version of tonight's episode with Bonehead Weekly's complete movie. It's like 4.5 minutes long, and then it cut off at 25 seconds. We said that's not right. So, but it is what happens on live streaming. So everybody, I want to thank you tonight. Don't forget October 20th through 22nd, 2023. Those are your Scarefest dates. Go ahead and put in for your vacation. Thanks again, Alan, for coming on. Everybody, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.